Nobody practices jutsus in the corner.
Bro, my brain is fried right now. God, how many more rambles have I planned to do this month? Holy shit. But, yeah. Let's shit talk Norfolk Southern again. So, you've all seen that power purge video where I explained how Norfolk Southern got rid of 703 locomotives and shit. But to recap, in 2020 or so, as a result of PSR, Norfolk Southern began retiring a multitude of older locomotives. And that has its pros and cons. My main issue is the fact that NS is pretty much still suffering from power shortages. But recently an article was published on Norfolk Southern's own website showcasing locomotive modernization through progress, or whatever it's called. This pretty much spotlights the SD70M-2 rebuilds, known as the SD70ICCs, I think. I will say this, it's kind of nice seeing that the M2s are getting rebuilt and that they're actually going forward with that, with deliveries starting in 2027 and going through 2029. But the part that I want to touch up on is the statement that they said saying, Norfolk Southern's modernization roadmap includes new locomotives, an industry-leading DC to AC program, and a push to reduce engine models from 13 to 4 over the next decade. So right from the get-go, Norfolk Southern is making the same mistakes that they made nearly 6 years ago. 6 years ago! It's insane. It's pretty much clear that NS still hasn't learned a thing from this stupid decision. So for context, the locomotive models that NS cut were a lot of older, outdated models. And admittedly, while I do think the SD70 should have been saved, I have read up that the ACCs are not the best locomotives around, and I apparently am hearing rumors that the new GEVO order that Norfolk Southern is doing is going to replace the ACCs. Then again, I could do a whole video talking about like the Norfolk Southern rebuilds that suck. Because trust me, I have heard a lot of shit regarding the EMD rebuilds from Norfolk Southern that it deserves its whole other video. And I could tell you the rose-colored glasses are coming off. Or is it rose-tinted? Whatever. But for which locomotive models I'm guessing they're referring to, my guess is those include the Dash 9s, the AC44C6M, the ES44AC, the ES40DCs, which apparently they're going to go through rebuilding them into AC traction, which is a first, seeing that we're getting GEVO rebuilds in this day and age. Tier 4 GEVOs, the ACEs, the ICCs, the ACCs, the M2, the SD60E, the ACU, and my guess, the SD40E. Meaning, that's well over 13 models that I've seen mainline use, although some examples can be debatable. Like, when was the last time a 60E led a road freight train or whatever that wasn't a local? But, if I were to guess the locomotive downsizing, the models that they'll be keeping around are going to be the AC44C6Ms, because NS has obtained like a slop fleet of them in the almost close to the thousands. The ES44ACs, the SD70 Aces, or unless if they're gonna standardize the Aces and ICCs into one category, and the Tier 4 GEVOs, just because. So you could tell what NS is likely gonna be like cutting off in its rosters throughout the next 10 years. So stuff like the SD60Es, the ACCs, and ACUs are gonna be going. Like, they're next on the chopping block. And it's, in a way, kind of funny and sad. It's funny knowing the fact that Norfolk Southern spent millions of dollars in not only, like, rebuilding them, but also researching them and, like, the electronics and whatnot, only for them to be thrown out many years later. The ACUs are especially ironic because, I'll probably get into this in a future video, but all they just did was just throw a funny cab onto it and then just bam. Why else do you think half of the ACU fleet's been retired? Because they didn't even bother. Like, I've read up somewhere that they haven't even given the ACUs new traction motors and prime movers. It still had the problematic 90 Mac prime mover, which is funny. And the 60Es, I remember hearing a horror story from one of my friends suggesting that the 60E door inside the cab leading to the toilet was locked. God, I gotta make a whole video on that. But, I get standardization and whatnot, but, like, they could have also standardized the SD70s in a way. Like, they did the same thing with the Dash 9s. They could have done the SD70Ms. And if the locomotives are failing, do a refurbishment program. Just spend the money to fix out and iron out the issues with the rebuilds. If Canadian Pacific spent a bit of money fixing up the issues with their SD70 ACUs because they were more or less in the same issue, and the ACUs right now on Canadian Pacific are pretty much leading like revenue freight often compared to like 5 to 6 years ago. And yet Norfolk Southern doesn't even bother like rebuild, like fixing them up. It's just, just slap on like a couple of bits here and there and then give them a golf clap and then bam, just run into the ground until it dies because the locomotive is making the company big bucks. So that way the shareholders in Wall Street can keep meat riding off of profits. And like that's especially prevalent in this, profits first, safety last, like mentality that Class 1 railroads have nowadays. Another issue that I have is with the giant mass downsizing, what would become of like other like duties? Like, okay, ignoring like mainline trains like intermodals, unit trains, and manifests and whatnot. What about locals or other unique jobs like the helper service on Horseshoe Curve, which is primarily handled by the ACUs? What about locals, which are primarily where the SC60Es and 40Es are found? What about those types of jobs? I mean, they've pretty much retired a multitude of SD40s and GP38s, and even those that are left are pretty much used elsewhere on the system. You gotta consider the other types of services that some of these locomotives could be used for. Like, if you're gonna take them off of mainline service, at least just degrade them down to like lower work. Like, yard service or local service. Cause that's the type of shit that I see on like SD60s and even SD70s are falling into that type of work. I genuinely do hope Norfolk Southern does reconsider this, or at least find alternate solutions, because like I get, cutting down a locomotive roster for standardization, but if it didn't work 6 years ago, it sure as hell is going to backfire on them like in the next 10 years. But yeah, this already seems like a pretty disastrous decision on Norfolk Southern. The only highlight of this is that the M2s are getting rebuilt, meaning we're going to be seeing more of them. Although this does make the ICCs go from interesting anomalies to more or less common workhorses, and probably would be easy to confuse with an ace perhaps. I don't know. But what are your thoughts on this? Do you think Norfolk Southern's going to, fall apart from this roster purge? Are we going to be entering in a power purge 2.0? Or do you think that Norfolk Southern won't go through this at all and this is probably just NS rage baiting us? Which I highly doubt anyways. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And yeah,